What's up, everybody? It's Old Man Winter 8 for Sun and Ski Sports, and this is the 686 Women's Hydra Thermagraph Jacket from the inside out. So the Women's Hydra Thermagraph Jacket really is one of the longer running jackets in their lineup. It really does have a ton of useful features, including that mapped out thermograph insulation system. So starting on the inside, we're looking at that graphene grid material that's all the way around the neck and around the face of the jacket. And why this is important is that when you are wearing first layer, a lot of times it doesn't have a hood or a neck piece. And if it doesn't, you got a nice soft material that's not only touching your neck, but when you do zip this thing up over your face, you've got a nice soft material against your face and against your lips, and it's not going to irritate. And by having this grid system, it's a pretty cool thing where when your body starts to lose the heat, that grid system actually can kind of store the heat a little bit so you're not losing it. Your face can stay warmer without them having to add a super thick material, making that collar even puffier than it absolutely needs to be. And then when we move down to that thermograph mapping system, you'll notice it is that thermograph warm system where we have these 3 panels of orange, one right in the back and 2 kind of wrapping around the sides a little bit. This basically gives you the warmth exactly where you need it, but by breaking it up, it does help a little bit more with that mobility. And then in conjunction with all this material around the outside, that treacle liner kind of in the chest area, you are getting that really comfortable jacket that is very easy to move around in. And then when we move down to the powder skirt on this, it is an adjustable powder skirt. We've got multiple snaps, so you really can adjust that fit around your waist. And then in addition to that, it does have a Lycra panel all the way along the bottom of it where it attaches to the coat. So it does stretch a little bit more. And when you do tighten it up, you're not getting so much of a tight fit as you're just getting a nice snug fit that it sits perfectly where you need it to on your waist. And then of course at the bottom, like most of the 686 jackets, the powder skirt has their pant to jacket connection loops. And these are basically some little snap loops that line up perfectly with some loops on the pants that do sit a little bit lower. So you do get a really good connection from your jacket to your pants, almost making them feel like they're one. But if you don't have the 686 specific pants, these do line up or come pretty close to lining up with a lot of the belt loops on just about any brand's pants. But it is going to work a little bit better by sitting down a little bit lower with those specific loops on the 686 pants. And then when we move to the internal pockets on this jacket, it's a pretty cool system. We have 4 specific pockets. We have this nice big mesh cargo pocket that you can fit gloves or goggles in. And then underneath that is a little snap stash pocket that is fleece lined, and it's a little bit longer and narrower. Now, obviously you can throw anything in there, but one of the coolest features about this is if you are riding on a day when there's a little bit more variable light conditions, you might need to switch out your goggle lenses. It's perfectly shaped to have a goggle lens fit in a spot, 1, where you're not going to feel it, but 2, that fleece lining is going to make sure that your goggle lenses don't get scratched up. And then as we move up the jacket from there, it actually has a specific tissue pocket that'll fit a nice small packet of tissues. And there also is a lip balm pocket, which is one of the coolest things. It's just the right amount of depth for a standard tube of chapstick, and it can stick out the top so you can get at it very easily. And it's up a little bit higher so you don't have to zip down your jacket too much on a really cold day to access that lip balm. And then as we move to the inside of the cuffs on this jacket, we have that Lycra inner cuff with that thumb hole, so you can have these underneath your gloves to really help seal that connection in between your gloves and the cuffs of the jacket. And then on the inside of the cuff, there is this glove link strap, which this is a little bit of an elastic strap that you can stretch over the thumb of your gloves. And this just helps keep the arms of your jackets down and a little bit more over your gloves for a little bit more protection on some of those colder days. And then if you don't need it, you just pop it off of the thumb and you have no idea that it's even there. And then when we're moving from the inside of the jacket to the middle of the jacket where the insulation is, this does have a recycled insulation. In addition to those thermograph panels, we're looking at 140 gram insulation through the body of the jacket, really giving you that extra warmth through your entire core. And then we're looking at a little bit lighter insulation as we go through the arms and into the hood, because those are places where we don't need as much insulation because a lot of the blood from our core flows out to our arms. And obviously you're probably going to be wearing a beanie or hood, but this also makes sure that you have a little bit more mobility in those places where you need that mobility. And then as we go from the inside in the middle of the jacket to the shell of the jacket, this is made out of a fully taped 2-layer Infinidry 20K waterproof 15G breathable poly fabric. And then in addition to just the fabric and those tape seams holding out the elements, it also has a PFAS free DWR coating on the outside, which is going to repel that water, so the material itself actually has to work less so you can stay dry and warm all day long. And then when we're moving from the outer outer materials to the features on the outside of the jacket, we've got those underarm flow vents with the mesh lining. So when you open these things up to help dump that heat out when you're starting to get a little too warm, snow's not going to be able to get inside of the jacket. And then when we move to the front of the jacket, you notice we have waterproof zippers on the main zipper and on that chest pocket. And when you open that chest pocket up, we've got a fleece lining on here. So if you have electronics, phones, things that you want to stay warm so the battery doesn't die as easily, that's a perfect pocket for that. But it is a nice big huge pocket to store just about anything in. And then it also does have their key clip, so you can clip your keys to that or anything that you don't want to lose inside that nice big pocket, and make sure that that's easily accessible. And then obviously we've got 2 hand pockets on either side with a little bit of a fleece lining, so if you don't have your gloves on and you need to throw them in there just to keep your hands warm, you do get that extra warmth there. And then one of the coolest features about the main zipper on this thing as we come up the jacket is you'll notice as you get towards the top, the zipper kind of kinks a little bit to the right, and it doesn't actually go right up in the middle of your face. And the nice thing about that is by having it offset a little bit, one, you're not having that zipper right up in your nose, it's over here, and they have these laser cut holes on the front of the jacket, so it's a little bit more comfortable right against your face. And by having those holes there, when you breathe, it allows your breath and that hot air to escape. So it really helps keep that condensation from building up on that material on the inside of the jacket. So it is a little bit more comfortable and it just feels better against your face overall. And as we move up to the hood, it is a helmet compatible hood, nice and big with that little bit of a brim style design. And then on the back here, we have that pull string that when you pull this, it does 2 things. Not only does it tighten up around your head and help pull the hood away from your goggles so you get better vision, but it also has this little hook on it with their hood link system on the inside, and that's this little loop. Now what this is for is when you are packing up for a trip, you pack this jacket up, you fold it, you roll it up, and then you pull this around the jacket and hook it to the hood, and it just helps keep the jacket packed down nice and tight so it's not taking up a ton of room inside your luggage. And then from there we move down the arm a little bit. On the left side here, you notice we have a pass pocket. It does have a key clip in there, so obviously keep your pass in there when you're going through the lift lines. You can wave and pass those readers nice and easily. And then also that key clip, so if you'd rather keep your keys inside your wrist instead of inside that big chest pocket, leaving that a little bit more accessible and a little bit more room for more things in there. And then when we look at the wrist cuffs on this thing, nice big adjustable Velcro on this, so you can tighten this thing down around the outside of your gloves or around your wrists if you like to wear them underneath your gloves. This really is an insanely good jacket that's going to take you from the resort even into the backcountry, and it's going to keep even the people with the worst circulation warm no matter what the temperature is doing outside. But if you got any questions about anything we talked about in this video, definitely leave some comments down below. Also make sure to like, subscribe to the Sun and Ski YouTube channel, and make sure to head on into your local Sun and Ski so you can check out the 686 women's Hydra Thermagraph jacket for yourself. But if you don't have one nearby, no problem. You can always look it up at sunandski.com.